Hello, and happy new moon. Uh, I got a little snack break. They're not gonna miss me, so I figured might as well do it at dusk rather than the dawn. Um, hey buddy, I'm doing like a tarot thing. Don't mind me, yeah. Love ya. I'm doing like a tarot thing. Don't mind me, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. So I don't have the notes that I normally would. New moon in Leo. Mercury retrograde upon us, Neptune in retrograde, a very collective frustration or backtracking or stagnancy, even. However, if we are only ever growing or decaying, although, energy stagnates, I suppose, uh, then I beg you consider what does it feel like when you walk through any door, let alone any portal, let alone any interaction as a portal, let alone any moon as a portal, um, and the feelings that come with it because even desire is an ironic, not desire, but even wanton and longing and desperation confused with desire are an alternate reality invoking of without. Um, so focus on what it is you want to feel, any doorway you do walk through, and it is always kind of a refreshing uh, opportunity or reset if one should so desire. So, with that being said, we're going to pull some cards that I actually found to see what they say about Play Moon. Hi, hello. How are you? Hello, new moon. Hello, Leo. Hello, retrograde. What is it that she wants us to see on the other side of this portal? Much like we're hanging out together in this creepy basement. Take 3 deep breaths with me, channel through the portal that this moon will open. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. One deep breath in. And exhale. That's interesting and very like pulsating. And really intense, but also there's not a lot of movement. Um, so with everything that I just said, don't get caught up in expecting progress or comparison because uh, sometimes the brain's not looking for that, and can hold too steady or too strongly to those things and sort of exacerbate this idea of failure and misery, where there is none. Interesting. 3, 6, 9, and a 7. Sevens of faith, sevens of earth, sevens of pentacles. I think that has a lot to do with how you're connecting to the land, and sometimes depending on where you are, or feeling a need for nature, or feeling a need for release, or feeling a need for connection. Um, in cities, sure, yeah, it can be hard to do, but that is often uh, a fun visual challenge. What other things can you connect to? How else do you find energy? Where else do you find replenishment rather than draining? And how do you change that paradigm or that uh, 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 phrasing of thought? How do you change that lens so that things that even feel trying now can be reframed as fueling energies, where we may not always just have trees and this and that. For as much as we all miss nature, we covet that in a way too, without actually recognizing or standing up for it. So how else do we replenish ourselves? Because um, we're reaping what we sow in a lot of ways. And 'tis the harvest season. So have we just harvested and not aftercared the land, or in a kinky relationship perspective, aftercare to any endeavor or engagement that we have, and we do engage with our surroundings and our earth and our settings. And I think even when it does not feel fulfilling or does not feel like it's giving back, that does not change the reciprocity of mind. That's where we fall into this transactional element. On this 369 is creation, perfection, mastery. Um, there's earth, there's emotion, there's fire. The creation is your resource. This threes is the maybe minor tangible resources that you may not see but do have. Whether that be, just your confidence and your drive and your understanding, your memory, the ways in which we can always play with this algorithm or play with this equation of sorts, so that we can maximize our results. This is Bourne's law. This is a minor code. The sixes is how we apply it, and the nines is how the operation fully functions in a I guess computer coding context. Um, and I mean, and even with this seven of coins or earth or what have you, um, we're widening the sound of these chords where it would be what makes a major chord. It expands this sound, it sort of fulfills this sound. And that's again, in this idea of walking through any portal, um, it's not just about what you intellectually want, it is about what you emotionally feel in that wanting or desire or reality. For example, if you walk through a door expecting to see, Santa Claus on the other side and are disappointed when he's not, the emotion of the what if and the emotion of longing and attachment is also what separates you from that. And the emotion there is the doubt and the longing and disappointment, I suppose, rather than the what if be about believing. And that's very much what sevens wants to spark as well. Um, I think the sixes can also be conversely like a shadow journey, the antithesis to this seven of faith. Not necessarily, I guess, in an antithesis, but it's rounding out sound in a different way. It rounds out sound from the bottom rather than the top, I suppose. Um, we're going to pull a full energy body, because why not? Seven of coins, ten of wands, bottom of the deck. What we do with the actions in memory, will in memory. I think that has a lot to do with ancestral memory or bodily memory, triggered memory, PTSD kind of memory, and how that fuels again this expectation on the opposite side of the door. Um, Ten of coins or earth in the middle, which is Jack, which is playfulness, which is playfulness of heart. I think maybe that's going back to getting dirt on your knees or like dirt underneath your fingernails in a way. The playful imagination of youth, was never afraid to get dirty or gritty and also didn't doubt their ability to. If anything, children try things before thinking of the outcome or necessarily the safety of getting down from that point or what have you. Um, but it's a wholeness too. So even where this three is unsure or the elbow of this, Nine of Swords, so the elbow of wisdom, where it connects to how we magnify or how we offer, um, that can be disjointed if we don't make one, or if we don't accept faults or failure or lessons or that dirt on your knees and that grime under your fingernails kind of thing, in the sense of getting dirty with it, or getting gritty, getting into the nitty gritty of things. That's a lot of people starting therapy. That's a lot of people wanting to go into the woods. That's a lot of people um, digging a little deeper into the roots of things. Um, and shit, blood, sweat, and tears will keep you young. I think um, all of those things do have their own, fractal quality to it, but are also very potent in a magical sense, and that is ultimately your resource. There's a lot of talk in the magical community about sacrifice in order to manifest, and I think that's misinterpreted in a lot of ways, because the people that sacrifice outside beings, um, I think they'll avoid the sacrifice inside, and so magic is always distorted in that way, or can be distorted by those intentions in that way. Again, so if you're walking through this portal and what that emotion is, um, of course, the potency is different when you don't understand sacrifice because you outsource that. Um, in the same way that we don't understand connection to the land because we outsource it as a vacation and as a getaway rather than as uh, and as a luxury rather than as a maintenance thing. In the same way that we look at massage, maybe a lot of people I think have grown up thinking that's a luxury thing, and that's a separation in class and what have you. When in actuality, it's a body maintenance thing. You should constantly be, not constantly, but you should regularly be maintaining uh, fluid in your body and energy centers and what have you, and especially as we have these fluctuations of temperatures and energies and pressures all around us, with expectation as well as just the world's movement. I really like these cards. Fun find. They're also really beautiful. um the interesting thing about this too is maybe in a collection of where energy centers are in this energy body, right? Of where these cards are. I'm gonna show you guys too at some point, or maybe I'll like make the video the layout. Um, it's a lot of energy and a disjointed energy. It's reactivity versus self doubt and limitation, and the way that those things maybe keep us from actualizing because we tend to, if we go back to these three of coins, actualizing from a memory of uh, doubt and lack and fear and failure and shame, and embarrassment, perhaps. I mean, I can relate the fear of the fear of being seen is something that I think is rising for a lot of people, in ways that they perhaps do not understand, whether that be in dreams or in sudden panic in life. Um, but I think that's a part of it. It's that this heart energy is dammed, and the rivers that flow through our fingers to creation need to be irrigated appropriately. Um, and oftentimes we hyper irrigate to an actionary element rather than to receiving or understanding or contemplating uh, or even in seeing the outside world a, a colored lens of what your internal world is. I think too often the outside world impacts the internal world. I mean, and that's fucking life too. But your internal world can be such a paradise that it also has the same uh, reaction. It's a two-way street, or it can be, just like any data input output system. Um, Again, to the beginning about coding, let's not let a specific code dominate your own internal algorithm. Um, and in a small way, in a microscopic way, that is also just the things that we scroll, um, and for how long, and the ways that that dilates our time, and what we make of it. The very tip of this, and perhaps the hands of this, outside of the root of this, we have the Five of Swords at the root, and our hands are both aces, really. There's an 11 and a 1, and so there's utilization of this ace and an ace or an ace of wands in it. So the singularity ace with this massive Nine of Cups energy begs focus. We can take all of these energies and braid it into a defined purpose, and braid it into precision, not perfection. And precision meaning intention, again, not perfection, not flawlessness, but purposefulness, deliberateness, and sometimes that can just come in feeling as well. I think that's very much my sketch style, because it is definitive in the intention of finding the shape, but the shapes of everything can move very rapidly, and it can be very intense, and it comes through. Um, Conversely, this disjointed nature desperately wants to be a mastery nature, which we have this Nine of Swords, preceding it. So it can come from the shoulder, but do we know, like throwing any good punch, do we know where that actually comes from? You can throw out your shoulder when you're purely depending on your upper body. I was just telling somebody this about golf, actually, and I remind myself this about martial arts all the time. Um, and even in those ways, sometimes I have to remind myself that the ground is my friend in this, and that I do utilize strength from this. A good punch comes from, the hip, comes from even lower, comes from the foot, comes from the earth. Um, that's what this character understands, and I think ultimately what we do understand intellectual or intuitively, perhaps. But we hyper intellectualize it, and that again dams the proper irrigation process in the body. Um, I wouldn't doubt that this also suggests something going on in the world, particularly with water resources, um, and where they may be. So, I'll keep an eye out on the news, or maybe not the news, but scour the internet. Um, there's very poised characters. There's very masterful characters. There's very potential. There's very much potential for balanced elements within this. Um, but I think maybe we hold ourselves back in purely creating with what we know rather than what we feel or want to believe in. Because what we know is only a piece of the truth. There's many a saying about it, but for every binary problem, there's a tertiary solution. On where is our chemistry disjointed in hormones or in emotion or in expectation of action. Do what you want, never what you have to. And again, there's a rephrasing to that or a shift in perspective that can bring out a lot of joy. And there's many a divine song about it, that suggests close one eye and step to the side, or tilt your head to the right and click your heels 3 times. Either way, it's a matter of how we see the light on the other side of this portal or this door. So with the dawning of, or with the oncoming of this new moon, I would suggest uh, to be very, because it will move into the cusp of Virgo too. It's asking for our ducks to be in a row. So get your ducks in a row, whatever that means to you. And I ask you to challenge that outside of the milestones of tangible factor that we've been taught to strive for, because that is this Five of Swords that is often a cramping in creation, and a searching for rather than inspired action or inspired creation or an inspired living, an inspired process of understanding the ritual of living, I suppose, when everything can be seen as a portal rather than it just be about these lunar moments, because the Leo makes the show and is always the star, regardless of the time or the setting. Um, so we're never missing anything, but I do think there's a sense of relief uh, when it is, dawning upon us. Um, so with that, be kind to yourself, be kind to your thoughts, and believe in the impossible. Ask yourself, what if? Um, ask yourself, what if you woke up to needs being met? And you know what? Things could be surprising. Things can be very surprising. And what needs those are outside of tangible factors, outside of just things. Um, I've come to realize that I think as much as the corporatization of psychedelics makes people think that we're somehow on the same page, um, it's selling the same thing capitalism is, a bait and switch of things that it'll never give you. Um, it is something that you can also create in and of itself. I love how ironic it is, and the cognitive dissonance that exists, and the amount of people that love to talk about this oneness of feeling and expression in psychedelic trips, but come back to reality and cannot understand that oneness is what we've been told ownership is. Owning anything is a farce. That's what stewardship to the land even means. That's what stewardship to yourself means. Oneness with yourself isn't owning yourself, but it is acknowledging and taking in and giving, sort of resources to the many aspects of you, and not facilitating an enemy in that. That is where this character finds recognition in that disjointedness. Um, Consider that, what does owning feel like? And it'll show you the same things that any good psychedelic trip will, um, or any bad psychedelic trip will, because people have had some scary ones too. Um, Not that it's bad. But yeah, go with that feeling. Do what you do. Love you. Happy new moon in Leo. Uh, Roar with all your might and purr with all your delight. Love you. Gotta go.